Welcome everybody to the Intrepidity Podcast live from the SMG studios in Boulder, Colorado. Today I'm joined by another very special guest, Keith Cassell. How are you, Keith?
Doing good, how are you?
Good, thank you. Well, as many of you know, these podcasts are storytelling of people that have overcome incredible adversities in life to not just be living their life, but be thriving. Keith has an incredible story today, and we're gonna start it all the way back from the beginning. Keith, tell me a little bit about where you're from, where you grew up.
I was born in Limestone, Maine. My mother was in the Air Force. I think I was only there for maybe a couple weeks after being born, and then she got shipped off to Italy. And so we stayed on Aviano base in Turin, Italy, I believe until I was like 6. It was actually one of my first languages. Hell, I don't remember none of it. But everybody's like, yeah, you used to speak Italian and this and that. And I'm like, no, I don't know what you're talking about, but okay. You know, so we went from there to Florida. From Florida, I got shipped out here with my grandma, and I was just back and forth with her, you know, most of my life until my mom finally came back. So, I mean, been all over the place.
Yeah. What was your childhood like? So was your mom a career Air Force? You know, like, did she had planned for a career in the Air Force then?
I believe so. From what I understand, she was Air Force for, I want to say about maybe 12, 15 years. Mm-hmm. She was supposed to go to the Olympics to run track. She was super fast. Like, I mean, we would race down the street, like, to see if everybody raced down the street to see if they can beat my mom. Like, she was dumb fast. Like, it was crazy. But from what I understand is she didn't end up making it to the Olympics, so she went to the Air Force instead. I guess she was just doing her thing in that, you know, for a while. I don't know if she wanted to be career, but I know it was easy for her, you know.
So what was your childhood like? Now looking back, like, you know, what was it like growing up, moving back and forth? How did it affect you? And did you start getting in trouble a lot as a young kid, or is this something that progressed as you got a little bit older?
I believe it progressed as I got older. You know, we sit back and we try to think about all the things you did from a certain age to a certain age, and to be honest, as much as you rack your brain, I can't remember nothing, you know, and it could be because of what we call trauma. You know, there's a lot of things you don't want to remember, so you fade it out. But from what I do remember, at first, I wasn't really a bad kid. I believe I was just really lost. I didn't have my father growing up. I only knew my mom, and people she would bring around. But really, I don't believe I started really getting into it until I was about 8, 9, mm-hmm. You know? And the one memory I do have when I first got in trouble was burning down the house. I decided to play with a match after Mom left to work. I was supposed to be walking down the street to school, and I was playing with the match. I seen a string on my mom's bed, and I decided I wanted to light it to see if I can fix the bed instead of cutting it. I don't know what I was thinking, but it took off quick. And all I remember was the bed being on fire and me running out the room. And I ran down the stairs, and my dog was in there, a puppy we had back then. And I ran out the house, and I ran to school like nothing happened. And you can hear the fire department coming down the street, because the school's right down the street. And you can hear the fire department coming down the street and just all this stuff. And I'm just sitting in class like, I didn't do nothing. I don't know what is going on, you know. And one of the teachers came running in, and they were like, you come here. And they took me out, and I'm in the principal's office, and my mom just comes storming in there, and she's like, what did you do? And I'm like, nothing. And she's like, the house is on fire, the house burnt down, this and that. And I remember I had to go to my aunt's house, and we were staying with my aunt, and I got a super whooping. And so, I mean, that was where it began, mm-hmm. You know. And then it got into just being defiant. You know, my mom, she would immerse herself in her work. And I remember I would need attention. You know, I was her only child at the time, you know. And so I would want her attention, and I couldn't get it, you know. And then she would she would go and do her thing at work, and she would come home, and she'd, like all parents, she'd have her sip of brandy and do her thing. You know, she wouldn't be bothered, you know, but she would. My mom was a loving mom. Like, she would want to be bothered, but she wouldn't. You know, it would only take so much, and she'd be like, all right, go play in your room. So I started to kind of figure things out, and I started hanging out with a group of people. Started wanting to just go out and do what they did, you know, and I started my own stuff with myself and my cousin and, you know, a couple of others, my other cousin Chris, and we would just go out and just do dumb stuff. Like, we would fucking break in houses and like smash stuff and pee on the wall like idiots. We did so much dumb stuff, man. It's ridiculous, like, thinking about it. And my mom would find out, you know. So she ended up getting with this guy named Mike, and he was a good male figure to be around. He had a son also named Mike, and we call ourselves brothers till this day. But we would all get in trouble too, you know. And again, my mom, she would be so focused on work and then him that she would kind of not forget about me, but I felt she would not pay as much attention as I needed. Noticing that I wouldn't get the attention I needed, my grandma would take me in. Me and my grandma are super close. Like, till this day, she's still alive, thank God. She's about to be 80 this year, but looks like she's 60. Like, she church-going lady and all that stuff. She goes to Catholic church and stuff.
How old were you at this point when your mom started to date the guy Mike?
I had to be like 10 or 11. Yep.
So under the guidance and, you know, of your grandmother, did you still felt like you were missing that connection with your mom that was making you rebellious?
Yeah. Because, I mean, me and my mom were close, but we weren't close.
Yeah.
And I wanted my mom in my life. I wanted her to see me.
Yeah.
You know, I was just as fast as her, you know, and stuff like that. And I wanted her to put me in stuff, you know what I mean? And she just wouldn't. She was just too focused on her business. I mean, her work, you know? So I'd say about 13, she ended up getting with Rob, the one that I still call my dad to this day. And he really was hands-on with me. He was an ex-kickboxer, and he's a tough dude, you know what I mean? And he's had his issues and stuff like that, but he made sure that I got what I needed. And he did family stuff, you know, and it was him and my little brother Aaron, which is his son. We would do stuff that you would want as a kid to do with family, like to have the whole trinity of a family, your mom, your dad, you know, and we would go camping, you know, and we would just do fun stuff. But he went hands-on with me because I would get real soft. And I was letting kids at the school, at the middle school, punk me, you know, because I didn't want to fight. Yeah. I didn't know how. Yeah. I didn't know what to do. I was just like, all right, you know, whatever, they push me down. You know, I go home and tell my mom, and she'd be like, we better take your ass out there and fight them. And I don't want to fight, and I'll throw a fit, and, you know, and stuff like that. And I mean, people don't really realize that about me now because of, it's like what you see is not what you get. Yeah. You know. Now it's a totally different story, but we'll get there. So I would get pushed around and stuff, man, and my dad was like, no. And he'd take me out to the backyard and he'd pull his mitts out, you know, and this is how you do this. And he'll start, you know, and literally, I mean, he'll punch the shit out of me, you know, and he's like, you're not gonna be soft. I don't care what you're not gonna be soft. Nobody's gonna pick on you from now on. And I mean, we would have our moments where I would talk shit to him. Yeah. I would start to try him, and he would pick me up and slang me across the room. Dude's 6'5", 6'6". Yeah. You know, he's a big dude. But I think that really started to change my attitude because now I'm getting badder. Now I can test people. You know what I mean? I can try all this new shit. Well, he ends up putting me in the football, and I ended up playing for the Pirates in Denver, a PAL league, and I mean they were like one of the most prominent PAL football teams in Colorado. And that was my shit. Like, I mean, I was out there and we were winning championships. I played for them for 3 years. We won a championship every single year, you know, and like football was my shit. You know, I played running back, linebacker and stuff like that. So, I mean, you finally found something that you're good at.
Yeah.
You know, that you see in yourself. You know, I can do this. I'm about to go to the NFL. I'm like Barry Sanders.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would sit there and I would study Barry, you know, and I would do all kind of stuff to make myself better. And it was because of Rob.
Yeah.
You know, he really took a hands-on approach. And I notice it now. I didn't notice it then, you know, but I notice it now. Just how a father's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And that's how he was to me. And yeah, I gave them hell regardless. So I started hanging out with the other guys, you know, and ended up getting blessed or whatnot. And that's when things just really started to turn.
So how old were you the first time you went to jail? Or juvenile hall even?
13 going on 14.
What was the crime?
We stole from Target.
So shoplifting?
Yep. So they take me to juvie, and I went to, what was that, Marvin W. Foote or something like that, the Foote Center in Arapahoe County.
Okay.
Went there, and I was only there maybe a couple of days, went to court and stuff, and they let me go on probation, you know, child probation and all that. And after that, it was like the taste. It was like, all right, I know how to get your attention, because my mom kicked my ass when I got home.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, okay. So even though it's not the good attention,
It's still attention.
it's attention,
Yeah.
you know? And she went off on me, and she's like, you want to steal and you want to do this and blah, blah, blah. And she kicked my butt. And I was like, all right, I got it, you know? And it's sad to say, but that's how I got her attention. So I just started going out there and jacking everything under the sun. And it wasn't because I did drugs. I never did drugs, you know? I never drank. I was a sports guy. I wanted to play sports, but I was so lost trying to get my mom's attention that I would go out here and just do dumb shit, you know?
Yeah. So, okay, so you start stealing, doing some things like that. How old were you when you had your first major crime, and what was it?
Oh, I want to say 16, because that's when I went. They sent me away, and it was a motor vehicle theft. I wanted to jack cars because I thought that was the thing to do. You know, you jack a car and you get to speed around and joyride, and I mean, you want to look cool because you don't have a car and your friends do, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, so I ended up getting pulled over, and they took me to jail. Went back to the Foot, and the judge was like, "All right, we're gonna send you away this time," and I'm like, "Oh man, here we go," you know. But really, I wasn't afraid. It was to the point where I didn't care.
Yeah.
You know, I felt like nobody gave a shit, so I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and family says that, you know, they were around and stuff like that, but there's a difference of being around and being in your life.
Right.
And to me, I was the black sheep. You know, as soon as I started getting in trouble, people kind of would shun me. And, you know, my little cousin would do stuff with me, and it would be my fault.
Yeah.
You know.
For not leading by example,
And not
basically.
leading by example. It would be times that things would be my cousin's idea.
Yeah.
But me being the leader of our little crew, I would take us on the adventure and do it.
Yeah.
You know.
So how long did you end up getting sentenced to for that car theft?
I was gone, I think he gave me 3 years or something like that. And they ended up sending me to Utah. And there was the Youth Adventures Academy, I want to say it was called. And it was a 45-day program. If you completed the 45-day program, you can go home. So I went to this program, and this is when I realized that I thrived on structure, which became a chemical imbalance in my brain that I needed structure in order to live life. And I'll explain that. So we went through the program, and I mean, you're out there literally outside in the woods in Utah for 45 days. And you have about, I want to say it was like 10 other kids with you, plus some instructors, you know, people that obviously had to go with you. And you start your little trek, and you get a bag, and it had a tarp, string, a water canteen. And that was it. And so we're like, damn, where's the food? Where's, So, and we started to walk. And they were like, all right, when we get here on the map, and it was from here to here on the map, then we'll stop for camp. Mind you, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. And so we started this long journey to get to this place where we had to camp. And we would have to drink pond water, and you would drop this iodine in there to clean the water. And it was disgusting, but we would drink it. And then they would give you like rations of canned food, and we would have to cook it on the thing, and we would have to find ways to make a fire. And so we would find like cow knee bones and sticks, and we had to whittle the stick and get string and put it on this big stick and make a bow, and you would have to literally, strike a fire like in old days. Yeah. So we learned how to do that. So it was like a survival camp for kids. Mm-hmm. But I was thriving on the structure. Like I wanted to be the first at everything. I wanted to be the first to get here. I wanted to be the first to make the fire, the first to set up my tent, And I started to put something in me like, okay, I like competition too, Ended up getting through the program. My mom, who else? I think my mom, my dad, Rob, and my cousin came. My cousin Chris came to pick me up and for our graduation. And we had this, I remember we had to race from like a long dirt road to get to them. And obviously I liked to run back then. I was just super fast. And I booked it. I'm gone. And the first one to get there gets a bag of M&Ms. So I'm gone. And I get there, I see my mom, and she gives me a big old hug, and she's like, all right, I'm sorry. She was like, all right, I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna be here more for you, right? So I'm like, cool, this helped. Got to go home, but I was missing structure, right? So I would go out there and I would just jack again, And so they sent me to boot camp in, was that Pueblo? Mm-hmm. There used to be a youth boot camp. I don't know if it's there anymore. Sent me to boot camp, and again, number one in the freaking class, just getting through it because it was structure. It was something that these people were paying attention to me because I was either fast, I was listening, I was, and so it was like, okay, these drill instructors are in my face because I'm doing right. I like this. This is structure. This is what I need. Yeah. I want somebody to see me, because I felt like I wasn't seen, mm-hmm. And so I graduated that and ended up going home again. Ended up getting shipped out to Florida to live with some family. Was acting out there. They sent me back here. And then I got in trouble again. And same thing, motor vehicle theft. And they ended up sending me to another program, which is called Rites of Passage. And I was there for about a year and a half. They sent me to Nevada first. And it was structure. It was like first you went through the camp in the desert, mm-hmm. and you complete there, you go to the school. So I get to the school, and it's an all-boys school. You lived on campus, and there were actual team sports where you can go out and you're playing real schools in Nevada. So I was playing football, I was running track, and we're out here just dirting these dudes, and I'm getting letters from the University of Nevada, Reno, to go play running back for them. We ended up going to their camp, football camp. My time had come up to where I can go back to Colorado. And so I'm like, well, damn, if I stay here, I can go to the University of Nevada, Reno. They'll get me into their school, If I go home, now I'm back with my family. And so I'm like, I want to go home. I can go play football out here, So they send me back to Colorado, and I go live with my mom. She's living in a totally different area now. She's living in what I call Yuppieville, which is, Cherry Creek area. Yeah. We're not living in Ghetto Aurora no more, or Denver, Park Hill and stuff like that. So I'm like, all right, this is cool. I can do this over here, And I remember we had a big old party at my Uncle Aaron's house, or no, it was my Auntie Rochelle's house. We had a big old party because I had come home. It was like my birthday at the time, and I'm hanging out with everybody and my cousin, and we're all just having fun. My mom was like, "Okay, you're going to Cherry Creek High School this time." I'm like, "So I ain't got to go back to Central?" And she was like, "Nope." I'm like, "All right, cool," because I know Cherry Creek is a prominent school.
Yeah.
Mind you, my grades weren't up to par where they should be, but I ended up going to Cherry Creek. Mind you, I was still doing dumb shit. Yeah. I was still out there jacking and stuff because, again, my mom was immersed in work. She became a stockbroker for Charles Schwab. So she was really focused on that. Her and my dad had broken up, and she was with this other dude named Fernando. Fucking weirdo, dude. I wanted to beat this dude up like every day. I hated this dude. Like, he would just talk shit to me. He would be like, "Open your door." And I'd be like, "For what?" And I'm 18 at the time. Yeah. So I'm like, "For what?" I'm a senior in high school. Who are you? I don't want your door closed. When I would tell my mom, and she'd be like, "No, he didn't say that." "Yeah, right." And it got to where she wasn't believing me again. Yeah. Because I would fib a lot of shit. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I would lie about a lot of shit growing up, because I was doing shit, but I didn't want to get in trouble, but I wanted to get in trouble so she can see me, right. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a twisted way of life, but my biggest thing is that she wouldn't see what I'm saying.
So to this point, it sounds like you've had a lot of chances, like given boot camps, probation, yep. Everything. What happens to send you to prison, and how old were you?
So, excuse me, I ended up jacking another car, getting caught on the highway, taking my cousin home. And we ended up so I jacked the car 3, 4, 5 days before. I'm just riding around this thing, joyriding like a mug. And dude ends up following us, and we don't even know it. We get on I-25 going north to take my cousin home, and there's a barricade of police. And I'm like, "Oh, shit." And they pull us over, and they do a felony stop, guns on us, get on the fucking ground, blah, blah, blah. And my cousin's sick. He's, "What the fuck did you do, bro? You're stupid as hell, this and that." And I'm like, fucking, I don't care about it. We get into the thing, and I'm telling the police, "Look, my cousin had nothing to do with it. It was me," And I believe they ended up letting him go home, and I ended up staying. And they take me to Arapahoe County, and the judge is like, "Look, I put you on probation. You've had a juvenile pass. Now you're going to DOC." So I'm like, damn. They take me off, and I get to Cell House 5. a DRDC, which is the, where you go to do your diagnostics and all that stuff.
It's like the holding before they take you.
And I see all kind of so-called homies, and all this and that. And I'm like, all right, I'm cool. I'm straight. Everybody knows who I am. I'm good. So you talk to the case manager, and they're like, well, there's a program they have called boot camp. You do boot camp, 60-day program, and then they'll reconsider you. Oh, this shit is easy. I'm finna do this, So they send me to boot camp in Buny. I go do boot camp, 60 days, they reconsider me. So then I go home, to the halfway house. And this was in 2004, I went to the halfway house. You get to the halfway house, and it's, give me your money. You gotta go get a job. You gotta go pay for this. You gotta make sure you're doing this. You gotta take these classes. Okay, that's too much structure, fuck you. And I ran. I walked away from the halfway house. I was like, I'm not doing this. So I'm on a run. My mom don't even know. I'm at the house. I'm running around doing this and that, doing whatever, hanging out with my guys, and again, just doing dumb shit, jacking shit, and I get caught. So now I got a walk away from the halfway house, or they call it an escape from the halfway house, and motor vehicle theft and a burglary. And the judge was like, yeah, guess what? Now you're out of here for good. So they gave me 8 years for the burglary, a consecutive 8 years for the motor vehicle theft, and a year for the walkaway, consecutive. So now I have a total of 17 years in 2004. So, and it was nonviolent, so you do half your time. But at that time, I didn't know all that. I didn't really care.
Right.
I'm like, all right, whatever. Back to where I was, where everybody knows me. Everybody's gonna embrace me.
So is it kind of like a sense of feeling like somebody?
You feel like somebody, and you feel like you have family.
Yeah.
You feel like, because it's a brotherhood in there for, not only for your set, but you meet a lot of people in there that have gone through what you've gone through, can understand the shit that you're going through.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a cohesive mesh.
Tell us about the worst day of your life coming next.
I remember I was sitting down playing poker. And that was a big thing to do when there was play poker. I mean, that's how you made your money.
Yeah.
And I felt like dude was cheating. And so we ended up fighting. We went upstairs and we fought and ended up getting caught pretty much. And so we got locked down and the CO came in and he was like, all right, you're gonna talk to the captain. And I'm like, all right, whatever. So I'm sitting there waiting, captain don't come. Next morning, it had to be, I wanna say like 8 o'clock in the morning because it was before breakfast. And I hear, Cassell, come down to the office. So I come down to the office and they're like, you need to go to the captain's office. I'm like, all right, so I turn around. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I got to cuff up. And they're like, no, you don't. Go to the captain's office now, hurry up. So I'm like, y'all ain't gonna cuff me up? And they're like, for what? I was like, y'all said last night I got to talk to the captain for fighting dude. And they're like, go to the captain's office right now, hurry up. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I walk out, run over there, and I get in there, and I had this ominous feeling. Let me return. The night before, I had an ominous feeling. Something wasn't right, you know, and I was laying in bed and I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
But didn't really pay it no attention.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm going to the captain's office and I have this weird feeling that something's not right. And so I walk in and he's like, you need to get on the phone. So I'm like, what's up? And he's like, well, somebody passed. I was immediately thinking that it was my grandmother because she was older.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right. So I get on the phone and I remember my uncle, he's crying. And I'm like, what's up? And he's like, man, your mom. I'm like, what? And he's like, man, your mom, she's gone, bro. And I was like, what you mean she's gone? You know? And she's like, man, he killed her. And I was like, who fucking killed my mom? You know what I mean? And he was like, man, dude killed your mom, her boyfriend. And I remember I slammed the phone down. I was like, yeah, fucking right. And I flipped the desk, the captain's desk. And he's like, hold on, what are you doing? Hold on, stop. And I'm like, man, fuck this. What are they talking about, you know? And he was like, just chill out. And I'm like, no. So I'm like, I'm punching the wall. Like they had to literally restrain me and put me down.
Yeah. And
like the captain and 4 of the COs had to like literally hold me down, you know? And I was like, I can't breathe. Let me go. I won't do nothing. And so I kind of, you know, calmed myself and I got back on the phone and, you know, my grandma's on there and she's crying and stuff. And she's like, I need you to chill out. She's like, just chill out. And I'm like, no, fuck that, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, we'll be up there. We're coming to visit you. Just chill out. So they came to visit. And I remember I was just sitting there like I wasn't there. Like my body was there. Yeah. But I wasn't there. I was just like, you know, kind of like in zombie mode.
Yeah, like, is this really happening?
Yeah. And my Aunt Rochelle, my Aunt Camille, who also passed a couple years later, my grandmother, my Uncle Aaron, his wife, and this chick that I was talking to all came. And like I said, I'm just sitting there and I'm just like this ain't right, you know? And they're like, I'm sorry, this and that. And so I'm just like, man, I don't care, you know? And so I was like, I want to go back to my room. And they were like, no, you need to sit here with us until I said, I want to go back to my room, you know? And I remember my aunt tried to grab my hand and I moved my hand away. And she was like, you need to chill, you know? And I was like, nah, fuck that, don't tell me to chill, you know? Why are all of y'all here? You know, and they were like, well, we want to be here for you. That's your mom and this. And I said, you motherfuckers wasn't here when I needed you before. Why are you here? You know? And I'm literally like loud and everybody's just kind of looking, you know, the whole visiting room is looking at me and stuff like that. I was like, I want to go back to my room, and I slammed my fist on the table. And the CO comes over and he's like, do you want to go back for real? And I was like, yeah, I don't want to be in here. I was like, I'm about to fucking lose it. Let me go back to my room. And so I got back to my room, and I remember I laid down and I started crying, you know, and I just didn't understand. And I was just sitting there, you know, in the dark, and I turned my TV off, and I was just sitting there, you know, and then something told me to turn the TV on, you know, because I wanted to understand exactly what happened. Yeah. And so I turned the TV on, and it was on Fox, channel Fox, Fox 31, on the news. Oh. And I mean, literally, I sat there in my room from, I think I went back to my room about 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and this was about 10 o'clock at night. I didn't move, I didn't want to eat, nothing. And I turned the TV on, I just kind of laid back, and I was watching the news, and it popped up. And it was like, you know, I remember her picture popped up, and I was like, you know, and it was a picture of her in the military, and she had a military outfit on, and it was like, it was this real ominous feeling, you know, and they started to explain, you know, what happened. And they were like, you know, boyfriend stabs her, you know, 37 times. She's found, you know, in her bed, this and that. And I'm like, nah. And so it became reality. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I remember I fell asleep because I was crying again. I fell asleep, and I remember I heard something like kind of just tapping. And I woke up, and something told me, relax, it's gonna be okay. That's what I heard in my head. And I was like, what? You know?
It's like a sign from your mom.
Yeah. And so I don't remember what happened for like 5, 6, 7 days, dude. I wouldn't eat. I didn't come out my room. The staff kept coming and talking to me. Like I didn't talk. Like I was literally mute for a week. And I mean, I would drink water, but I wouldn't eat, you know. And one of the guys came in, and he was like, I remember him knocking on the door, and I was like, and he was like, no, open the door. And I was like, no, you know. And I was contemplating suicide. Like I wanted to kill myself. I wanted to strangle myself. Like, you know, go find a freaking shank and stab myself. Go start something with another hood and you know, death by gang, whatever you want to call it. Like I didn't want to live no more, you know?
Was that all just, do you think now looking back, was that like, obviously just losing your mother is so horrific and tragic, but was it worse because you were now thinking like, I'm in here, and maybe in some way like you felt guilty about it happening?
Yeah, I definitely felt guilty. I felt like I should have been there. You know, we had talked a couple of days prior, and she was like, yeah, I'm moving my stuff, this and that. And I was like, Mom, can you come see me? You know, and my mom was like, I'll never step foot in the jail cell. I'll never step foot to see you in the jail. You want to see me, you stay out here. Mm-hmm. And I was like, Mom, can you please come see me? I just need to see you. And she was like, yeah, I'll come see you after I move. And I'm like, cool, my mom's finally gonna come see me, you know? And I was like, Mom, I need some money. I need some canteen and stuff like that. She's like, I got you, babe. Just let me move and stuff, blah, blah, blah. And so, you know, a couple of days had passed. And let me rewind. A couple of days had passed before this happened, and I had called her. And I was like, Mom, can you send me that money? I need it. And she was like, boy, you know I'm fucking moving. You better wait. I was like, man, fuck you. I don't give a fuck about this shit no more. Fuck this shit. You can fucking have the money. You can move whatever, fuck, blah, blah, blah. You know? And I hung up the phone on her. That was the last time I heard my mom's voice before this happened. You know? And so anyway, so yeah, I felt I should have been there. I should have stopped the whole situation. I should have never let her be with that dude, you know? All that. Every feeling you can think of, I went through. But it was more so that, okay, now I'm really alone. Now there's nobody, you know. And I'm not saying that grandma wasn't there, my Aunt Rochelle wasn't there. You know, I talked to people here and there. My grandma was always there, hovering.
Yeah.
She was always there. If I needed anything, money, a person to talk to, she would do everything for me.
Yeah.
So, but in my mind, it was, okay, damn, I don't want to bother her because she just lost her daughter.
Yeah.
You know, and people would say, oh, you can call me anytime. I don't want to fucking talk to nobody. You guys were out there. Why y'all ain't stop it?
Yeah.
Why y'all ain't pull her away? You know, when she arguing with dude, when she, you know, telling y'all that this dude ain't shit. Why y'all ain't pull her away?
Yeah.
You know, why somebody ain't take her out of that house and let her stay with them until she got everything out of there, if y'all knew she was moving.
Yeah.
So it was a battle within myself, but a battle with my family as well.
Yeah.
And I literally told my grandma, I told my aunt, I said, I fucking hate you.
Yeah.
And they were like, what? We didn't do nothing. And I was like, because you guys let it happen. And my grandma was like, I wasn't there, you know? And, you know, she was like, if I could have stopped it, I would have stopped it. I would have blah, 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 but your mom don't listen.
Yeah.
You know? And so, you know, during that time, it was, I really, after I felt like it was just nothing there, I immersed myself into who I was there.
Some more.
Yeah, they call me Miami up there, and that's who I was. I wasn't Keith Cassell. It was Miami, you know.
How much longer, so this happens in 2007, how much longer do you have on your sentence and when do you get out?
So I remember they were saying that I could have put in for the halfway house again in 2009, or no, it was 2010 at the time. So it began to work itself back. And so, I mean, I'm still acting up, but I get in this program, and it's a dog program. I'm seeing dogs running around. I'm like, why is all these dogs running around? You know, and one of the guys was like, hey man, there's a dog program here. You probably would like it, you know? And I'm like, yeah, these dogs is cool. So I get in the dog program, and you learn how to train these dogs in anything from basic obedience to behavior modification if you have an aggressive dog, you know, or a dog with timid issues or social anxiety, stuff like that. So you learn all these different skills. And I was like, man, this is something I can do. And so I'm in the program and I'm just excelling in it, you know, and learning a bunch of different stuff. And then the case manager comes and he's like, pack up your stuff. I'm like, what? Well, you're going to Trinidad. I'm like, no, I don't want to leave. I'm in the dog program. I don't want to leave. And they're like, well, you're going over there for their dog program. I'm like, oh. And this is a lower facility. So now it's a chance to get out more, do more. So they take me to Trinidad. And I mean, at first I'm like, man, I'm not doing a dog program over here. This shit sucks. So I'm hanging out, playing football, playing sports, all this stuff, working out. And I happened to see this husky walk by. And over there, I mean, you have to have the dogs on leash, but some of the advanced dogs, they can be off leash. And the husky walks up and he starts kind of like licking my face. And I'm like, damn, because I love huskies. So I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna go sign up for this. And there was like a sign that I was supposed to sign up, you know, because obviously I went over there for it. And so I go sign up, I have my interview and they put me right over there. And so, I mean, I'm in the dog program over there and you have to go through these different steps to get your master's. So I'm going through my classes and training these dogs. I mean, I had to have trained 30 dogs, you know, within a year. And I ended up getting my master's. And so I finished that and I go take another class for business and stuff like that. And it's through University of Pueblo, or Pueblo Community College. Yeah, Pueblo Community College. And it's for business. So now I'm connecting the dots, you know, and I'm talking with my case manager every day and he's like, you know, you're getting closer, but it's for the halfway house, you know. And so I finished, you know, that class and I needed I think 2 more classes in order to get my associates in business. So I'm like, okay, so now I'm making these plans for the halfway house that I'm going to put in for in a year and a half. And this law comes out, and it's that DOC had been calculating time incorrectly. If you have a string of, I guess, cases in time, I've never been on parole. So therefore, all these cases are connected. These cases never stopped because I went on the run or went to the halfway house, you know? So I'm like, wait, so I got all this time from 2002 till now that needs to connect. I would lose, obviously, the time I went away or ran away and stuff like that. So I'm like, hey, bro, can you help me with a suit for this, a writ for this? We ended up writing the writ up, and I didn't hear nothing for about, 6, 7, 8 months. So I'm like, this probably ain't even real. And everybody's talking about this, It was called the Fetzer law. Mm-hmm. And everybody in the yard's talking about how they can get their time back and how they can, be out, blah, blah, blah. Now, when you think about stuff like this, I'm a go-getter.
Yeah.
So now I'm studying and formulating how I can, if this happens, make my life better. Mm-hmm. Because this is over with. I'm tired of this shit.
Yeah.
It comes to a point in time where you're just like, I'm tired of being told what to do, being controlled, when to go eat, when to go use the bathroom, when you can come out your room. You're not 4 no more, you're 30 something, And so finally, I get a letter, and we're on lockdown for a situation that happened over there. And I get a letter, and it's from Arapahoe County, Douglas County. And they're like, okay, you're correct. They incorrectly calculated your time. And all your time needs to be ran as one continuous sentence because you've never been on parole. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, what happens next? So I go give it to my case manager. He's like, yeah, so? What you mean so? He's like, I see what it says, but what do you want me to do? I'm like, I don't know. What is supposed to happen? So I ended up calling my fiance, and I was like, hey, I'm probably going to be getting out soon. I'm not sure what's happening, but this is what's happening, and I need a place to go. And she was like, well, mom ain't gonna let you come here, her mom. And I'm like, all right, whatever. So about 2 months later, case manager calls me in, and he goes, remember that letter you was telling me about? And I'm like, yeah. He was like, well, time computation called, and they incorrectly did your time. I'm like, yeah, I know. What you talking about? And he's like, well, apparently it's gonna take a while for them to calculate and stuff like this. So anyway, I'm doing a dog program, and something came across me because it was still something inside of me that I needed to get out. Yep. And I went to my case manager, and I was like, if I wrote the man that killed my mom a letter, would it go out? And he was like, well, I don't know. We have to get with victim advocate because you're technically a victim because it was your mom. And I'm like, he was like, well, why would you want to do that? I'm like, why not? I was like, there's still a demon inside of me that needs to get out. And if I don't get it out, this is going to be my same cycle. I'm going to go home. I'm going to fuck up because I don't know myself. Yeah. There's something in me that needs to get out. And so he was like, well, I'll look into it. I'm a go-getter. So if I say put my mind to something, I'm going to do it, whether it's negative or positive. So I went and I sat in my room, and one of my close friends was in there. And he's like, what you doing, bro? And I was like, oh, I'm writing. He's like, oh, you writing Genesee? And I'm like, no. I was like, get out, So he left, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, how can I formulate this letter? And I sat back, and I had been going to church in there. And I sat back, and I was like, I opened my Bible, and I started to read about, forgiveness and stuff like that, and that it's God's medicine, and regardless of if the person accepts it, that's not for you to judge. Your job is to forgive the person who did you wrong. And so I was like, okay. So I started to write my letter, and this was a Saturday. Obviously, you were writing rough drafts and balling them up and throwing them away.
Yeah.
So I went to church the next day, and I swear, I kid you not, pastors in there talking about the same thing that I read. And I'm looking around, I was like, are you talking to me? And I'm sitting next to my boy, and I said this out loud. And he was like, what? No. I'm like, not you, not you. And so I sat and I continued to listen. And God was speaking through this pastor to me, and he literally said, some of you may not know what I'm talking about, but one of you do. And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And so I'm tripping because you hear about the power of God, but you don't, it could be a fairy tale or a farce at times to people.
Yeah.
Some people who don't really understand and get involved and immerse themselves. And he was literally talking about, what needed to be said. And so I went back and I banged this letter out, and I'm like, man, I said, I don't know if this is gonna get to you, but if it doesn't, I'm at peace with it. If it does, I'm at peace with it. And I said, I hope this letter finds you in good health and spirit. I said, and first I wanna start by saying I'm sorry for, sending people after you, and stuff like that. I said, two wrongs don't make a right. Yeah. I said, but then I want to forgive you for what you did to my mother. I said, I don't know where your mind was at. I don't know what caused you to do this to her. I said, my mom was a good person. I said, and I'm not writing this letter for you. I'm writing this letter for me, And I quoted some scriptures in there that I had found that went along with it. Yeah. And I said, I hope this helps you, And I was like, I can't say that I love you because I don't. I said, but God loves you. I said, and he tried to stab himself when he killed my mom. Yeah. They found him trying to stab himself. I said, so if you were supposed to die then, you would have died then. I said, but you're alive now. I said, I'm forgiving you. I said, I'm sure God forgives you because that's what he does. I said, now I hope you take this and you find something to do with your life, And I said, I hope everything works out for you, And when I finished this letter, I took it to my case manager, and he read it, and he started crying, And he's like, that's powerful, yeah. And my mom always taught me to be strong. I don't really cry much, and I guess that's kind of something that you should probably do, But I've always been strong for everybody else because that's the way I made myself. Even in there, I had to be strong for everybody else. Yeah. And so he was like, I'm going to send this to the victim's advocate. Victim's advocate gets it, and they, give it to his case manager, and him read it. And I asked, I said, not that it matters, but did he read it? Did he care? And my case manager said he talked to the other case manager, and the case manager said he read it, but I don't know how he reacted. Yeah. Because obviously people put stone face on. Yeah. So, I pray that it affected him, yeah. But if it didn't, then that's other demons he has to face. Sure. But that was a weight off my shoulders, and it felt like when I did that, all the anger, all the pain, all the, just everything inside of me went away, and I said, they were having a baptism there. And I was like, and mind you, I'm a high-ranking member at the time. And they're having a baptism outside. And I walked up and I said, Pastor, can you let me in there? And my homies said, you stupid as fuck. You stupid. What you gonna do that for? I said, I'm showing you something, right? And the pastor heard me. He was like, showing who something? And I was like, them. And he was like, no, you're showing him something. And I said, damn, okay. I didn't think about it that way, And I got baptized in prison. And it washed all the evil off of me, And so literally the next day, case manager calls me in. He's like, you're seeing parole. December. So I'm like, okay, cool. You know, I called Jen. I'm seeing parole in December. She's, oh my God, are you serious? Blah, blah, blah. I'm going to talk to, talk to her mom and stuff like that. And so I'm like, okay, so I'm going to church. I'm praying every single day. I'm, really immersing myself in the Word because it means something. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a story of not only their life, God's life and Jesus' life, but also ours. And it's a sword to fight your battles. So he tells me I'm seeing parole or whatnot. The next day I get a letter from Jen. Mom says you can come home because she lives with her mom in her house. Yeah. I'm like, what? I never thought that would happen. Yeah. So I'm like, okay. So now I'm really formulating my plans. I didn't graduate this dog stuff. You know what I mean? I'm going to start a dog training business. I'm going to finish school. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Right? So about this November, Thanksgiving, case manager calls me in. He's like, you got a warrant. I'm like, for what? And he's like, oh, well, apparently you false reported to a pawnbroker in 2010. Okay, that's 8 years ago, bro. So what? So obviously you do research and I'm praying every single day, like, man, let this stuff go away, man. I'm right here at the door. Yeah. But it's a test because you always go through a storm or a test before the sun comes out. Yeah. Before everything is given to you. And so I'm sitting there like, man, this is crazy, blah, blah, blah. But I'm hearing this in my head, and I'm feeling just different. So I'm like, all right. So I get to Jeff Cove. I go into the court, blah, blah, blah. And the judge is like, I'm going to dismiss this because this is way too far away. They should have been took care of this. I said, you're getting ready to go on parole. I tell him a little bit of my story and stuff like that. And he was like, go do something. I'm like, I got you. Get back. Excuse me. And another warrant comes up. And so I'm like, all right, this is stupid. So I take care of that same exact way. It just goes away. Mm-hmm. See parole. Parole is like, look, I don't even want to talk to you. What you did, I've never seen anybody else do. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, nobody else has ever forgiven somebody who blatantly and literally stabbed their parents or killed their parents. So for you to do that, that tells me that you've changed. Yeah. She's like, I know your track record. I know everything about you. What are you going to do? Because you're going on parole. And I sat back and I was like, oh shit, Yeah. I'm like, I'm finna be free, And so I told her, I was like, I'm about to go out here and I'm going to start my dog training business and all this stuff. And she's like, you like training dogs and this and that? I'm like, yeah. So literally, I get out. The day I get out, I told Jen, I said, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to start school. I'm going to finish my degree in business. I finished my classes. And in March, I started training this dog.
When did you get out? So
February.
February 2019?
February 26, 2019. Okay. And I started training this dog in March. And now I'm formulating the LLC. Mm-hmm. I'm getting all the paperwork to make the business official, and I call it Pawsitive Pack Creations because we're creating a cohesive pack with, a dog and its family. Mm-hmm. And it's positive because everything that we do is in a positive nature. Yeah. If you bring any type of negative in your life, that's what's going to follow. Yeah. Negative attracts negative. If you think positive, everything positive is coming to you. Mm-hmm. If you let any little negative thing in there, a whole swarm of negative is going to come to you. I promise you. Yeah. And so now I'm trying to figure out ways to build this business. Okay, how do we talk to people? How do we do this? How do we do that? But mind you, I still have this prison mentality in the back of my mind. So something moves fast. I'm watching him over here in Walmart. I'm watching this person. I'm doing this. I'm freaking out. But at the same time, I'm still grinding through, this madness. Yeah. And so now we're out here, we're talking to people. I'm giving out cards and flyers. I'm creating everything there is to create to get this business off the ground. I hear about a pet expo. And I'm like, oh shit, we can get in the pet expo, you know? And she's like, all right, let's do it. So we pay to get in the pet expo. My grandma helps me, pay for it and stuff. And we get to the pet expo and it's thousands of other freaking companies and stuff like that. Dog trainers, dog walkers, anything pet related. You know, my cousin comes and helps. He's running around talking to people. Like, we're getting all these people to sign up for dog training. So now we're taking off, you know. Create the business page. People are dropping reviews on how good we are. Like, I mean, we're literally ascending with this business. And you learn that when you're doing something so great, you figure out what you're doing. And I realize that giving back is an understatement now, because I'm helping people literally change their lives.
Yeah.
People literally cry because their dog is so out of control. And I'll walk in there and literally 5 minutes, the dog is doing something totally different. Yeah. You know, and my wife likes to call me the dog whisperer of Colorado. But I mean, it's so gratifying to see someone so happy because their dog is doing so much better. Yeah. You know, and a dog reads your energy. Yeah. You know, I've taught my dog to read me. He's my emotional support. And he reads my energy. He knows when I'm irritated. He knows when I'm upset. And he'll literally come and put his head on me and growl at me. Yeah.
It's just an absolutely incredible story, Keith. What advice could you give to somebody that's young right now going down the path that you went? Like, how could you express to them that it's not worth it? Like, you know, what can they do to not go that way? Or how do you face your fears?
A big thing to me was talk to somebody. First, let your feelings out. You know, don't hold anything in, because the more you hold in, the more anger builds. Yeah. That's one. Two, again, there's always going to be a storm in everybody's life, but it depends on how you wade through that water. You know, if you let the waves crash over you, you're out of there. So fight through it, you know what I mean? And don't give up, because there's always a sun on the other side. Every time you see a storm or a rainstorm, there's always a sun that comes out and a rainbow that comes out. That's life, you know? I can go from hell and I created a heaven for myself and my family. Yeah. You know? So, I mean, the biggest thing is just, you don't give up and talk with people. Yeah. You know, even if you feel you're alone, find something that you're good at and talk with somebody that's helping you. Yeah. You know, just, it's an incredible story. And thanks everybody for tuning in. We're going to put all of Keith's graphics up on his business, how you can follow him on Facebook, social media, his website, everything like that. I have 4 dogs, none of them well behaved, so I'll probably be talking to you about that. Yes, sir. You know, for anybody out there, each episode just seems to get better and better and more powerful with these incredible, courageous stories of, you know, individuals overcoming adversity and turning them into adventure to not just live their life, but to thrive in an absolutely incredible way. If you know somebody out there that has an incredible story you would like to share, my link below, send me the email with their story and we'll connect. If you want to, you know, meet with Keith and talk to him, I'm sure he'd be more than happy to help somebody out. We have all his info up too. Until the next time, thank you for watching the Intrepidity Podcast, and take care.